Hope everybody is in their chairs and they are ready for our special guest. I know everybody's very excited once they saw the post come out. I got text messages saying, "Okay, really 8:30? Okay." So it looks like it's going to happen. So, as we like to do, as we like to do, we are going to bring in our special guest. You guys know him, and Mike is going to do his thing. First and foremost, let's bring in number 42 himself, Germ. What's going on, Jeremy Hemsley? How are you doing, Germ? Welcome,
I'm blessed,
welcome.
man. I'm blessed. I'm blessed. I'm blessed. Thank you for asking. Thank you for
Man,
asking.
this is a little new and different for us. When we usually interview people, it's not on the live. So you are a first former Aztec4Life joining us on YouTube Live. Everybody make sure you are sharing so we can get all your
I'm
questions and
honored.
comments and stuff.
I'm honored. I'm honored.
So before we do anything further, Mr. Mike Tortolot up there in the upper right, he usually gives us our little introduction. So go ahead and take it
What
on,
up,
Mike.
Mike?
What's up, Jeremy? Thanks for joining us, man. We appreciate you.
Of course, man. Of course.
All right. Our next guest on the Sons of Montezuma podcast is a prominent player that scored an impressive 1,392 career points in 134 appearances. As a starter in 3 out of his 4 years on the Mesa, this guard is widely acknowledged as one of the best perimeter defenders to ever wear the scarlet and black. He holds the record for three-point percentage in a single game with 87.5%, making 7 of 8 shots against Grand Canyon University in 2016. His teams went 90-48 during his 4 years, including the 15-16 Mountain West regular season champions, the 2016 Diamond Head Classic champions, and the 17-18 Mountain West tournament champions. Beyond his athletic achievements, he is the founder of Divine Dreamers. Recently honored with a jersey retirement at Damien High School in Laverne, California, he earned accolades such as the 2014-15 LA Player of the Year, the 2015 John Wooden Award winner, 2015 CIF State Champion, and was a 3-time San Gabriel Player of the Year. We are honored to welcome Mr. Jeremy Hemsley to the podcast.
Yeah.
Wow. Hey, I appreciate that love, man. Y'all did the damn thing with that one. Thank you for that.
Man, you
There
earned
were
it.
some
We
things
gotta
I didn't
speak,
know.
you
There were
know?
some things I didn't know in that too. I didn't know about the 3-point percentage at Grand Canyon. I do remember that game.
Yeah,
I
we
do
did too,
remember
man.
that
That was a
game.
good game. Yeah, yeah, man. Well, thank you for joining us, man. We really appreciate you. We enjoyed watching you play ball and all those years, and we're glad you're here.
Yeah,
Man, thank
Jeremy,
you, man.
one of the things I absolutely loved about you when you were an Aztec was your willingness to engage with the fans. Like I was on some of those Facebook live that
Yeah.
you did, and you were engaging with I think it was with the SDSU basketball fan
Mhm.
club or whatever, and it was awesome. You were doing it from your apartment on campus, and sometimes Nolan Narain, I think, was your roommate. He would pop in
Right.
accidentally, but man, I just loved like your honesty, your openness, and
Yeah,
just your
man.
willingness to reach out and just converse with us.
Man, I'm glad that you said that, man. It's and if my answers are too long, please don't hesitate to tell me because I just want to make sure I'm giving, thorough actual answers. But that was an important aspect for me was feel me, just to converse with everybody, because it was a dream to play there. I remember the first San Diego State that I went to when I was still in high school. I just couldn't believe that the crowd was the way that it was. So when I did get on campus and I got to be around everybody and I got to talk to everybody, it was I guess it was important for me at the time to show people the human element to me because you're watching somebody on the court all the time or from an outside perspective, it's easy to lose the human aspect, So that was something that was important to me was to show my personality and just show who I am outside of the basketball court, So I'm thankful you acknowledge that.
I'm seeing here in the comments already. I didn't know you scored 20 points.
Yeah, my
Was
first
that
game.
true in your first game, in your
My
first
first game.
SDSU
My first game.
game?
First game. And it's crazy. I remember how I felt that morning. It was crazy because I was talking to one of my past teammates during that time, and recently actually we were talking about we're talking about the morning of that game, because I remember how I felt. I don't really remember too many games from that time or high school, but I remember that game and how I felt leading up to it. I remember how I remember how I felt when I woke up that morning, and it just felt good. It was a good energy that morning. And but yeah, 20 points my first game. It was pretty encouraging.
Is that a big part of it? I mean, when I watch basketball, I love it because it's such a rhythm sport, right? You got to be in rhythm. If you get the ball, take a dribble, pull up, jumper, whatever. But just in outside, off the court, if you're feeling good off the court, you bring that on the court, right? I mean, that's got to
Yeah,
play a
for
heavy
sure,
part.
for sure. And especially at that time, I still felt so wide-eyed being on
Mm-hmm.
campus, just because I'm around guys. Silent Cheatham was on the team, Malik Pope, guys that I looked up to, so I had to do so much, and I was 18 at this time. I had to do so much in preparation just to get on the court and feel good. I remember just laying in my dorm room, and I was just laying there, just visualizing how I'd feel on the court, And I
Yeah.
remember when I opened my eyes, leading up to going to shoot around, I opened my eyes after just laying there for a second. I was like, yeah, it's gonna be a good one today. So to answer your question, it does take the preparation. Everything you see on the court is everything that people don't see behind the scenes. You feel me? Like everything that you see, like with Lamont Butler hitting the shot last year, it's everything that people don't see. So it's
Yeah.
cool that we can bring up that memory, because that's a memory I haven't thought of since I left college. So yeah.
I can't imagine. Looking back on these few years. I mean, I'm very excited to have you on. I obviously follow
Yeah,
you
man.
on Instagram and seeing
Yeah.
the brand,
Yeah.
the brand that you've created. Tell us a little bit about that, because I'm really curious about that. Divine
Yeah.
Dreamers.
So after I decided to stop playing basketball,
Mhm.
this was after I did 1 year overseas, and once I made that decision, it was kind of it was tough. It was tough because I've been playing basketball since I was 2 years old, so it was a weird space that I was in of, who am I? What am I doing? If I've been identifying myself as this basketball player since I was a child, that's where it started, and then I took those thoughts and that conversation to my woman who I'm dating and who I love very much. I gave her everything that I was thinking. I was talking to her about it, and she believed that I could do it. Fashion was always something I had a passion in outside of basketball, but I was never in position to be able to juggle both. It's like once you're playing the sport, you have to be fully invested into that. So after I
Yeah.
made that decision, after I talked with my girlfriend about it, she just kind of put that battery in my back of just like, it's something that I could do, and then it was just something that we pursued together. So anybody that's close to me knows that I love fashion, and it's something that is a part of me. So it wasn't too out of the ordinary for everybody else around me to see it. It may have been out of the ordinary for people who may not know me like that, because they're like, damn, you just stopped playing basketball. But I never really talked about why I stopped playing basketball. I had just made the decision and kept it between my family and I, and but yeah, that's how it came about. That's how it came about.
I can't imagine, and sorry if I'm taking all the questions, guys, but you talk about playing
No, not at all.
basketball from 2 years old.
Yeah,
I mean, that's something that to get to this level that you had, like, that's so much time, dedication.
yeah,
They say the grind,
yeah.
ball, what do we say? Ball is life. You know what I
Ball
mean?
is life,
That's
literally, man.
literally what
And
it is. I mean, so much work you have to put in just to get to that point.
right,
So,
and the tough part is, not to cut you off. I'm sorry if I did
yeah,
cut you off, but
yeah,
the tough part about it, when you've given yourself to something your whole life, the tough pill to swallow is that there's no guarantee that it'll work out.
mm,
You can't get that time back. You can't get those years back. Not saying that that's what I want, but that was the tough part in chasing that dream, or any dream that I'm chasing, is there's no guarantee that it'll work. You feel me? I
yeah.
can put all my time and energy and effort into this, and it may not work. So, but I wouldn't trade back anything. I've loved what basketball did for me, man. It did more than I could have ever imagined.
Mm, 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 mm.
Seriously.
I'm hogging all the questions, guys. You guys got anything?
I want to know why did you pick 42? What was that number from?
So that's a long story, but I'm gonna try to keep it short. So, and the end of the story will kind of blow your mind. So, when I was a little kid, my dad would always talk to me about this roommate he had because my dad played basketball too, right? He played at Chaffey College, which is a community college not too far from where we stay at now in Rancho Cucamonga. He had a roommate who he just really loved his game. They were close, but he would always talk to me about his game. He would always say, "You remind me of this guy. You remind me of this guy." One day I asked him, I'm like, "Who is this? Like, who is this? Who is this guy you keep talking to me about?" So my dad told me how his roommate, he ended up getting murdered. He got shot. He got killed. He got murdered. And my dad was telling me how when he came home and found out that he got murdered, how hurt he was. So he had just went in a room by himself and he just got to praying. He was just, and I guess talking to his friend out loud, you know, after he had just passed, he was just by himself. He was talking to him out loud and he was saying how, man, if you could leave anything on this earth, just leave your talent with my son. Cause I think I was either just born, I was about to be born. So my dad was telling me the story of him asking him, just leave your talent with my son. And he said that when he did that, the room just got still and the candles that he had blowing just went out, right? And he told me that he wore 42. And this was after I had already chose 42, I think. I think I was already gravitating towards that number for some odd reason. I had chosen. And then my dad told me that story of who this guy was, right? So I end up, and I just took pride in the fact that my dad, he really respected this person because my dad never really talked to me about anybody the way that he talked to me about this man, right? So I get to San Diego State, and this had to be around my freshman, sophomore year maybe. And do you guys remember Marcus Slaughter? You guys know Marcus Slaughter passed?
Oh
It
yeah.
was his brother. It was his brother.
Wow.
And you look at Marcus wore 42 as well.
Yeah.
And we were wearing 42 for the same person. One, I had never met the guy, but it was Marcus's brother. And Marcus had hit me. This is like I said, around my sophomore year. And I remember when he hit me, and because he asked me, he's like, "Why do you wear 42?" I told him the story. He's like, "Man, that's my brother." I was like, man.
Wow.
I was like, bro, no way, that's your brother. And that was one of the things that had me feeling like I was supposed to be at state because I was like, man, you can't even make some shit like this up. I'm like, whoa. But that's the story, man. It started as a child and it literally led up all the way until college.
Wow.
Synergy, man. You can't, synergy is like things in your life that like add up and you're like, wow,
Can't make it up.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
right.
So
Thank you.
No problem, brother. I'm in this car right now. I'm blessed, brother. But no,
but that's
no, it
that's
is
cool.
energy. It is, man. It's a
We're
blessing.
already getting reactions. People are getting chills in the chat listening to you tell that story.
Man, that's cool, man. That's cool. Because people would ask, like, do you wear it for Jackie Robinson? I'm like, man, I never met Jackie Robinson, so I never knew that guy.
That's crazy. It is Jackie Robinson's birthday today, so that's why I'm wearing the Brooklyn hat.
I didn't know that. Okay.
That's why I'm. And then I have Marcus's shorts from when he played. I have his white and red shorts in my. So I was sitting there and I would work out. Remember Randy Shelton? So we were working out and Marcus was in the gym with us. I'm like, bro, I got your shorts. He's like, I gotta get those back. I said, no, wasn't mine now, dude. So that's crazy. Like it's like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon
it's
kind of
crazy,
thing.
bro.
That's crazy.
Can I ask y'all something? Like, how did y'all? I have two questions actually, but my first one, how did y'all start this podcast? Like, tell me about that. I actually want to know.
Okay. So basically, what was it? 2017, probably. San Diego State was looking to buy the football stadium right in Mission Valley, the one they used to play in. And I myself, I'm a graphic designer by trade, so I used to always just make on Instagram like player edits, and I would just put player edits out there, graphics, different things of that nature. And we would tailgate, me and my buddies, we'd all tailgate. K5 James, he was on original podcast. He started it just to get the word out for people to vote. Because
Right.
in order for San Diego State to get that stadium, they had to vote for it.
Right.
And so us being the diehard Aztecs that we are, we said, let's put together a podcast. Let's get the word out. Let's tell the truth. Let's get the word out to all the voters so that we can get this stadium. And, you know, our love for San Diego State, it runs deep. I grew up literally across the street from campus. My dad worked there for many years. You know, Mike down below, he's an alum. SD Sports Fiend's an alum. So just our love for the program, for especially athletics, it runs deep, man. We've been doing this for several years now. It's just grown from football to basketball to hopefully more. And of course, you know, I'm a graphic designer, so we started this clothing line as well.
Wow.
Making NIL products for some of the guys on the team. Lamont Butler's one,
Wow.
you know, Jaden Ledee. And you know, it's just been growing, man. So this whole Sons of Montezuma, it's a family, you know, it really is a family atmosphere. And so for you to come on, it's just an extension of Aztec Familia, man. That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah,
We
man.
appreciate it.
I commend you guys, seriously, man. It's not hard studying. It's not easy starting anything just from a thought in your mind, man. So I commend you guys, seriously. I feel blessed to even be speaking with you guys tonight, for real.
The pleasure is ours because we, like you said, we know. I mean, when you start something, when you're the first to start something, what do they always say? You're the first to get hit on the head. You're the first to get your head bashed in. You're on the front lines. You want to start something. You want to be original. Nah, they may like your originality. They may like your originality, but you know, you may cause some waves.
Right.
And some people may not like it.
Man.
But it's okay. We still doing it because this is what we love. This is what we love. We love Aztec Nation.
I applaud all three of you, seriously, man. Seriously.
Jeremy, we got a super chat question. You know, people, one of the great things about this YouTube platform and doing it live is that people can actually donate to what we're doing. So Mr. Art Vandelay, he says, did SDSU coaches support you after basketball? Now you talk about starting stuff. You know, Coach Dutcher, Coach Fisher, they really turned this Aztec program around. They were the first to really get it to a certain level. That took a lot of support. Now for you starting your entrepreneurial, you know, clothing line and all that good stuff, you need that support as well. So, I mean, is that something you've recognized in this Aztec family?
I mean, and I haven't spoken to Coach Dutcher. If I go to the game, me being at the game this Saturday will be my first time even speaking to Coach Dutcher since I graduated.
Beautiful.
You know, and I got Coach Dutcher in his first year as a head coach. You know, so first year head coach isn't the same as who he is now. You know, I think he was still in the process of learning, as all the other coaches were around him, and I think at the time, I was expecting them to maybe, I don't know if support is the right word, but yeah, I guess help me out. But I don't think, from my perspective, I don't think that was realistic of me to think that way during that time. You feel me? Because these are people who have a job. They have recruits coming in, and they just have a lot going on. So to answer the question, no, I didn't get support from them, but I think it was. I don't really think it was necessarily something that we both, all of us, wanted to come to an agreement to. You know, like it wasn't a conversation we had prior to me graduating. Like, hey, I'm gonna need help. You know, and there's still conversations that I haven't had with Dutch or Dave or with those guys who were there when I was there. So I don't really want to speak on things that I haven't had a chance to speak on to them about. But
sure.
Like I said, I haven't spoken to him or seen him since I left. But to answer the question, I think that, like I said, it's always a new wave coming in, so you don't really have time to focus on the players who are leaving. You know, so it is kind of in the players' hands to figure it out on your own. You know, so And at the time, I think I might have deluded myself a little bit into thinking like, hey, you should be helping me. And I did have some resentment in my heart at the time as a 22-year-old. but I've grown as a man, you know. So I'm able to see my foolish thinking at the time, you know. So
Was that
obviously they're doing great things.
what was that something that you did by choice though, like by not reaching out? Like some people just don't,
No,
they don't reach out, or
I did reach out to Dave at the time. But like I said, there's so much. Like I don't want them to hear this or anybody to hear this and think that they did something wrong, because they didn't, you know. And I did reach out to Dave, and I think there's a level of communication that he could have had with me at the time. But at the same time, on that same note, would I have been ready at that time in the age that I was at to receive that level of communication? You know what I'm saying? So, oh, sorry, I don't know if I froze.
You're good.
I actually did reach out to Coach Fish just because this was like 2 months. This was like 7-8 months ago. I was laying down and he popped in my mind. He just popped in my mind. It was so random. It was so random to the point I'm like, let me call this guy, because I don't know why he popped in my head. So I called him and we talked on the phone for like 10-15 minutes, and that was cool. But I think life just moves at such a rapid pace, and I think the coaches may have felt like I felt the way because of how my junior year went, and you know, it was just a lot of unsaid things. I think in certain areas they probably felt like they didn't know how I felt about them, and I also didn't know how they felt about me. So I think it was just a lack of communication. But while I was there, everybody treated me well. You know, everybody treated me well for sure. So.
well, hopefully, by coming back on Saturday, you'll get a chance maybe to reconnect with some of the coaches, that you haven't talked to since you left. I think that'd be good for you to be around family and remember what it's all about.
Right, because so much has happened, and it's even just the way it happened. I haven't attempted to come to a game or anything. It just happened, and even since I left college, that's something I kind of always had in the back of my mind. Like if I were to go back, it's probably going to be something that God orchestrates, or it's going to be on God's time, and it wouldn't be anything that I have to force. So that's kind of how it happened. It's nothing I have to force, and me being there, I'm sure it's going to feel nostalgic because I haven't been there at all. But I'm looking forward to talking to everybody and seeing people that I haven't seen.
Beautiful, beautiful.
And watching an Aztec victory too.
And watching the Aztec game, man. I have dreams still to this day. I have dreams where I got on the Aztec uniform and I'm hearing the crowd, and I can never make a shot in my dream for some reason, but I still have a dream. I still have dreams where I'm on campus, which is so odd.
Divine dreamer, man. Divine dreamer.
Come on, man. Come on.
Man. Now, I mean, I can't imagine. That's such a pivotal moment in a young man's life. Like, absolutely you would have flashbacks and dreams of being in that arena, in that jersey. Like, that's such a big part of your life.
Yeah, man. And I think at the time too, it's like you can be in the moment, but you don't really see how big this moment is until it's later on and you get to reflect on it, you know? So I saw it in a moment, but I didn't really see it in a moment. You know, I didn't really see that other people are watching what I'm doing and people are really paying attention. You know, I was just being myself.
Yeah.
What was it like to play in Viejas?
It was like a dream. Like it didn't feel real. And it's funny you asked me that. I'm gonna give you one example. This was like my freshman year, I think. And we were playing New Mexico, I believe. And it was a close game. I'm pretty sure it was a close game. It was sold out. It was a lot of people in there. And I had got the ball. They fouled me because it was a close game. It was the game was about to end, so I had to make the free throws. But I remember being at the free throw line, man, and I'm dribbling. And all of a sudden, I realized that all these people in the arena are watching me shoot the free throw. Everybody's eyes is on me watching the free throw. Like I'm dribbling, and then I caught myself thinking, I'm like, Jeremy, bro. I was like, Jeremy, let the thought go. I was like, let the thought. Luckily, I made the free throw. But it was a dream, man. Like I remember the starting lineups when it goes black and you see all the flashes, and I would just always be thinking about how my parents felt in that moment. Like I'm sure that felt good for them to see that, but it was a dream, man. That was a gift from God. That was a gift from God.
Well, have you ever, when you were shooting free throws, I don't know if you ever saw this guy. He's one of the show members. This is Aztec
Yes,
Flavor.
It's an honor to see, man. Yeah, I was there. Like your first years were my first years. I was just sitting in a wizard costume, like behind the band. But it was so much fun watching you and just your energy and just hard work the whole time. Yeah, I don't know what to say, but yeah.
Thank you.
You see these comments coming in too. Like Larry says, my daughter's basketball number in high school is 42 because of you. One of her favorite Aztec.
Wow. So what do you guys remember about me from that time?
Man,
and it could be anything. Please don't tell me nothing I want to hear, because that's not why I'm asking.
The one time you missed that. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding.
I got a story. Like, this is interesting. So I was at the 2019 Mountain West Conference Championships, right? And we're playing Nevada, right? Remember, we blew the doors off in Nevada in 2018, and then we played them again, and they were really good. I think they brought back all their, their star players. And I was talking to, and so we kind of had a rivalry going between us and Nevada at the time. And I was talking to some fans from Nevada, and they were like, I freaking hate San Diego State. I despise them, but I'll tell you what, I love Jeremy Hemsley. They're like, I love his game. And that was awesome to hear that from like an opposing fan. Like, they just really appreciated the way that you played, and they loved like the tenacity and being able to swat shots and play really tough defense and just all the energy that you brought. And so that was really cool.
That's a good answer. And I only ask that because I think back to that time in my life, and what comes up for me is the things that I wish I handled better, especially my junior year when I was dealing with adversity, not starting no more. And I think about that time, and I think a lot of people that watched me during that time, they not that it's a bad thing, because how anybody can remember me how they like, but I think a lot of people remember me for that year and who they saw at that time, and I think back to that time and I'm like, man, I could have done a lot of things different, and the coaches could have too, but I've always but I've always wished that not just fans, but anybody that's followed my basketball journey doesn't only equate my San Diego State experience to that 1 year, But that's why I asked, because I was just curious. I was curious to see what you guys thought. Not saying it would have been a bad thing, obviously.
I mean, personally, I just knew what we got out of you, man. Like, I just knew you would hustle, you would play hard, you played defense, and you were just like nothing crazy, over the top, spectacular, but just solid, great player that you knew was going to bring it every night. And you just kind of watched and said, I know what I'm going to get with Jeremy. Every night. So, I would sit behind the visitors bench and see you guys play and warm up and stuff like that. And just solid, consistent player that you knew you were going to get max effort every single night.
Man, I appreciate you saying that.
I will say, Jerm, that is something that I do remember, talking about that specific year. But it's definitely not like the first and foremost lasting thing at all, because when I think about you, I think about, and obviously we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but realizing that you move forward and the team move forward, and seeing the energy, the enthusiasm, the smile on your face, that energy. I mean, to see how your career ended up at State, I mean, talk about a defensive nightmare for the opposing team. I mean, that was just such a thrill to see what was going on come full circle, and you just really thrive in the end. And it was like Man, that's special. That's special because it's a journey. It's a process. You talk about coming in, you know, being kind of wide-eyed, and like you said, Dutch's first year as a head coach. I mean, that's a big responsibility on him. And I just love what I'm hearing from you. That realization of like kind of
I didn't
being
really see it at the
mature.
time. I didn't really see it because I remember the day Fish told us that he was going to retire. I was like, damn, like,
yeah,
because I had a good relationship with Fish at the time, you know, and even even moving into that, I hadn't really. When Dutch was a assistant coach, we didn't really have a level of communication. Dutch was more, he was quiet. He was always observing Fish. He was always observing the players, and you could kind of see he was observing mentally, getting ready to move into that space, you know. So I hadn't really had a relationship with Coach Dutcher. We didn't really have an exchange of words too often. So I think when he moved into the head coaching job, which he's well deserving of, I have nothing ill to say about Coach Dutch. I love Coach Dutch. I think that from his perspective, he maybe didn't know how to tell me that, hey, Jerm, I think I want to go with this starting lineup. You know, I want to do these things. I think he just didn't know how to do that at the time or tell me. You know what I'm saying? Because he was part of the group that recruited me as well. But you're a new coach. You probably see something new that I don't see. And at the time, I'm feeling so angry. I'm like, Dutch, what is it? Just tell me. But I'm not looking at it from a perspective of, first off, he's a new coach. Second off, Jerm, find out what it is that you can do different, or what is it that he's seeing about you that, you know what I'm saying, that kind of has him like questioning whether you should start or not, you know? So when I said about when I think back to that specific year, and I think about how I wish I would have handled things differently. It's little things like that. It's little things like that. And even just adversity in general, I wish I would have taken it on instead of letting it shut me down. You know, I kind of let it shut me down, and it changed my game. It changed my confidence. And now my leash is getting shorter on the when I'm on the court, because it's like, okay, he's thinking too much and now he's making mistakes. And it just changed everything. And it took time for me to get my confidence back. But I think back to that time and I'm like, Jeremy, you could have handled it differently. You know, you could have just taken that adversity on the chin and ran at it instead of running away from it.
You know, Jerm, the way I like to look at that that year, that 2018 year, because that was kind of a special year. You talk about overcoming adversity. We lost a lot of games early on, and then I think it was that Wyoming game. We didn't lose until the tournament. You know, it was like Ash Wednesday. It was like, we're not going to lose for Lent. You know, and we didn't. Like we won all the games up until Man Bun hit that ridiculous shot at the end of the game. And I really thought that team, that 2018, could make a run through the tournament. You know, it just happened. We just, fell a little short against Houston. But man, what a great run through the Mountain West Conference tournament. And the thing is, like, you were a huge piece of that. Yes, you didn't start, right? But you had a huge contribution to that team.
Right.
And I kind of like what Dutch says, it doesn't really matter who starts. It matters like who finishes, and where's your contribution to the team, And the reality is, man, you were a big part of that team.
Man, thank you for saying so. Because at the time, it's just, especially when you're at a young age, and even though I still am young, but I was 20, I had just turned 22 at that time. I just couldn't see it from a mature perspective, I couldn't. I'm hearing outside voices telling me you should be starting. I'm just feeling crushed. I don't know what to do. So I'm just like, I'm messed up about it in my head. But looking back, I should have just did what I grew up on. I should have just took it to prayer. I should have just kept it. I should have just kept trying, I kind of just let me defer. I just deferred. I'm like, okay, I'm not starting no more. I'm thinking that they think they don't need me anymore, and I kind of embodied that feeling, and I just try to take it out on whoever I'm guarding at this point because I'm so mad. I'm not getting answers from Dutch really, but it all falls back to me. Anything that's gone wrong in my life or could have gone different falls back to how I could have or should have handled it, and I've reflected on that.
That's beautiful, man. That's good. And I'm glad that we are talking with you such a time as this right now with the team a little bit on a little struggle, right? I'm sure there's a lot of people saying different things, wondering why so and so is not starting. I mean, we have the conversations, and to hear your in hindsight and the wisdom coming out. I mean, that's cool. We got a question really quick. Okay, so leading up to maybe not knowing how to tell you those things, did the coaches ever ask you to change your shot mechanic?
They did, man. And I don't know why, because it was going in. I was shooting well. I'm telling you, everything that kind of went opposite of how I was expecting it happened my junior year. That's the only year where I'm like, damn, what the hell was going on? But yeah, they did ask me to change my shot mechanics. And like I said, I was already in my head about so many other things in regards to how they felt about me. So my shot just went left at that point. My junior year, that's probably the worst I shot, bro. That's probably the worst I shot. But they did ask me to change it. But I'm sure now if there is somebody shooting well, they just let them rock with whatever form it is that they have. But at the time, you gotta remember the state was still changing at this time. Like we had just got the Jam Center. You feel me? Our pride and joy, which still is Kawhi, but we hadn't been in no Final Four. We haven't. Players weren't getting paid NILs. It was still changing. So I think the coaches were learning just as the players were learning, So the version I got of them, the coaches that are still there on staff, isn't who this is now because they've grown just like I have.
Absolutely, man. Ooh.
What's your favorite memory from state?
My favorite memory, and it goes back
on
to
or off the court.
It goes back to that New Mexico game. Yeah, that New Mexico game. It was my freshman year, I believe. It could have been sophomore, one of the two. But we won that game, I think, by 2 or 3 points. It was an early game, just like how it was going to be on Saturday. Me and my family was there. My mom, my dad, I think my sister was there. Maybe it just been my mom and dad. But we go to it used to be a burger spot over there. I forget what street name it was, but it was a burger spot right there by campus. I forget the name. It was like by a tattoo shop. So after the game, I go over there with my mom and my dad. We're taking our order and at the burger spot, and I turned around and I guess everybody in there was just at the game and they recognized me, and they all just start clapping and they're like, yeah, Jeremy. But I remember feeling so happy for my parents in that moment because I just remember the look on their face, and I remember how proud they felt in that moment. I had played well that game, and then after that, it was a moment that just us three shared. So it felt good because they sacrificed everything just to even get me to that point. So that's a memory that sticks out for me.
That's great. That's awesome.
You said your dad played ball, correct?
Mm-hmm.
How much of an influence was he on your game, or just what can you speak about?
My dad, both of my parents were young parents, man, and I was their first child together, so they didn't play no games when it came to me. Like they taught me everything early. My mom taught me all the school side. She taught me how to present myself, how to speak, how to have manners, and she taught me that side. But my dad taught me the side that he knew best because my dad came from really being in the streets, and so he not only taught me to not be like how he used to be, but he taught me tenacity. He taught me like hard work. He taught me that it's not gonna be given to you. He used to have me up at 5 a.m. riding bikes up the hill every morning. But it had got to the point where he worked me so hard, I started to love it. I started waking him up like, Dad, let's come follow me while I ride up the hill, or drop me off at the gym real quick. Drop me off before you go to work. It turned into that. So my dad taught me that the only way you can succeed at the game is if you really put your whole self in it, if you love it. You know what I'm saying? And as we were talking about reflecting and things like that, and talking back to my junior year, around that time, I stopped loving the game. I stopped obsessing over the game. I stopped like I didn't feel the same way, you know, and I think it showed. But my dad taught me that. He taught me you gotta love it. Like I used to sleep with my basketball, but it was because of him. He had me sleeping with the basketball. I remember in like first grade, he would have me. I would do my homework. I'll come home. I'll do my homework, and then we would go outside. He would have me dribble with each finger 20 times, right hand, left hand. I would do that from 8 p.m. to 8:30. This was first grade, 8 p.m. to 8:30. But that type of stuff set it was my foundation. It set the tone for everything until I got to college, until I played overseas. It set the tone. Like he did. Once I hit high school, he didn't have to keep telling me certain things. It was just I knew what the deal was, you know.
You find that work ethic or just that hard work translate into what you're doing now with your new venture and everything you're trying to do now off the court?
Yes, and forgive me if my answers are long. Please feel free to cut me off.
No, man. We're grateful for the time. You let us know when it's too long.
Yeah, no, not at all. But yeah, that's I guess been the challenging part is applying that same tenacity to other fields. Because and it's crazy because I still relate everything to basketball, even with the clothing line and whether I'm designing something or anything, I still relate it back to basketball, and I understand that I can't be great at it unless I have that same 5 a.m. mentality that I had, you know. But I think these last 3-4 years, it's been not really 3-4 years. I stopped playing in 2021, 22. So since then, it's been the teaching myself to let that translate to everything else that I've been doing. Because I still walk around the crib and I'm still playing air basketball, you know, like it's still in me. Like I'm still adjusting to being a regular civilian, you know, like I'm still adjusting to that. But to answer your question, yes, like the only way that the things that I'm praying for to work, it can only work if I bring that work ethic to it, for sure.
Well, I hope everybody is getting intrigued and want to go follow you on Instagram and see the brand that you are cooking up, man. Seriously, I'm excited to see the creations are. That's cool. That's cool.
I've seen some of the photos and the videos of the outfits. Like you've been fitting some of the guys that were on the team, like AG. I know he's really big into fashion, and you know, some of the other guys that were I don't know if maybe Shackle or you know, some of the people who guys you know who were working out down here in San Diego. But yeah, it's really cool to see like, you know, what you're doing with that, and you know how talented you are with that.
Man, thank you. I think I'm still learning myself as a human being, you know, because I identified as a basketball player for 22 years of my life, you know. So the stage that I'm at now it's like I'm proving something to myself, you know. When I was playing basketball, I was always trying to prove something to somebody else. I was trying to prove I can shoot the ball, I can play, I can defend, like I deserve to be here. I'm trying to prove it to strangers, to fans, to anybody. But it's the first time in my life where I'm proving something to myself, man. It's been crazy because it's like I wasn't doing that my whole life. I never tried to prove something to me. I was trying to prove something to everyone else. So I appreciate you saying that, man. I have a lot of love and support around me too.
Enjoy it. Have fun with it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and that love starts within, you know, and then it radiates outward. So that's and you're following your passion, you know, and your calling. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, a little bit of a fun question from somebody. They say, Jerm, what is the best movie about basketball in your opinion?
Basketball.
A lot of good ones, man.
Yeah, a lot of good ones. You said what is the best one? It would have to be Love and Basketball, and I hate to say that because I think the movie is so corny now. But that's a movie me and my girl talk about. We used to love that movie when we were growing up because we were neighbors and stuff when we were younger. So we used to love that movie. But I'll probably say Love and Basketball for sure. Loving basketball.
Really? You
Plus,
were
you're from Southern California, so
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
yeah.
What would you say?
IE.
What would you say?
For me, it's Hoop Dreams. Hoop Dreams
Okay.
is my all-time favorite. I'm from Chicago, so and
Oh,
I
you
grew up there
Chicago boy. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I grew up in Chicago. Well, not in Chicago, but Chicago land. But I grew up during that era, and it's just such a great story about inner
It
city
is.
basketball
It is.
and guys trying to make it out of the inner city, and getting opportunities to do that, and sort of the two paths of the players take, to get where they want to go. It's just such a great documentary. That's my favorite.
Okay, so
Is that-
documentary.
Yeah, I was about to ask you.
Reggie Miller versus the Knicks at 30 for 30. That's my
Yes.
favorite. That's my favorite basketball documentary ever. I could watch that every day.
But when he's
Yeah.
doing the choke.
So Reggie Miller is from the Inland Empire too, and Lamont
Mhm.
Butler broke his scoring record at Riverside Poly. Was he a guy that you looked up to, or that you aspired like?
Reggie, no, nah, not really. I didn't. It's crazy because most people have people that they look up to. I mean, Kobe, obviously, but I just wanted. I didn't really look up to nobody. I had favorite players, but it was never. I don't think I was tall enough or short enough to have the same game as somebody. So I never looked at somebody else's game and was like, I want to play like him. But I would see something, I'm like, I'll try that. I'll try that crossover. I'll try that dunk. Or
You know who I would say maybe closest to, like
who?
like the glove, like a Gary Payton.
Yeah. That's a good comparison. That's a good comparison.
That defense, that
That's a good
defense.
comparison.
Man, Gary Payton was something else.
So if I had to compare a player on this Aztecs team to you, this current Aztecs team to you, I would probably compare Miles Bird. Just because of the way the defense he plays, the energy, being able to block shots. Like, you used to be able to get up and swat at the rim. That was awesome, to watch. And getting steals. He's not the best outside shooter. I think that's something that you really, worked on throughout your career.
Yeah.
And that's something, but the defense and the energy, it's just his game really reminds me a lot of your game.
Man, that's a blessing, man. I'm thankful you compare anybody to me, man. That's cool. Somebody said he got game. Dang, I missed that one.
Yeah. Jeremy, we know Jeremy LaHaye. We call him Rebar.
Shuttlesworth.
Slipped my mind. Dang. But yeah, somebody said Lamont Butler too, because I grew up not grew up, but I saw Lamont Butler coming up under me since we're both from the IE. And I think he came to my dorm room one day because my cousin Malik Thomas, he just transferred from USC to University of San Francisco. They're close. And I'm pretty sure they came to my apartment after one of those games while I was at State, and I was just giving them shoes that I didn't wear anymore. So it's crazy to see that he's at State now. Cause I saw little Lamont with the big ears and a little head, all shifty, and now he's hitting the jumpers he's hitting game winners and Final Fours and stuff. So it's crazy.
Yes, sir.
It's crazy.
Comes full circle.
Speaking of shoes, what kind of J's would you enjoy playing in, and what is your favorite to sport around town?
It's crazy. I've always been a guy that only hooped in shoes. Like I couldn't wear the J's with the outfit or something. I could only wear them on the court. But my favorite was the 11s to hoop in. The 11s. I think so. Yeah, the 11s. I think I hooped in the 4s a little bit too. Yeah, but the 11s were just always. Those were always the ones for me. They always felt real comfortable. And yeah, I'll say the 11s. You have a favorite?
I feel like that's it. I'm a 3 guy. I like the 3.
Threes
I don't hoop. Yeah, I have them all. I have too many, to be honest with you, but I like to wear them out. You know what I mean? And just kind of that's my going out with my wife to dinner shoes kind of thing. So but a lot of guys say the 11s. A lot of guys say the 11s. So, but yeah, man, I would love watching you guys just hoop in those J's and then switch them up at halftime and then just see like it was shoe game university. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
If you're playing bad in the first half, you got to switch out the shoes and go to the next pair.
yeah.
That's funny.
Let me ask you this. I indulge my ignorance here, but Germ, where does that come from? Where did you get that nickname from?
So it's funny, just like coming up in hoop, you're always at basketball camps and you're able to be around different people from different areas. So I was at a camp called what was the name of it? It was some All-American camp, and it was actually somebody we played against while I was at state. He went to Cal. His name was Paris Austin, and he was just like one day on the court, he was like, "Yo, Germ." And it just stuck. Like everybody just started calling me Germ. Like before that, I would just go by Jeremy. Some people would call me Jay. And after he called me Germ, I was like, yeah, I kind of like that. So I started saying that. Like if I was introducing myself, I would say Germ, or it just stuck. It was just something that stuck. Like it wasn't nothing crazy. It was just something that came about at a basketball camp.
Okay, I was wondering about that.
Yeah, it was cool though. I still like it. People still call me Germ, so it's kind of like a second name at this point.
Yeah.
I think you were such a fan favorite. Everybody loves to call you Germ. They feel that closeness. They want to feel that comfortability with you. I'm seeing Oliver Lee respected Germ for this honesty and openness. You were always one of our favorite Aztec players, a fan favorite, a player that fans always root for. I mean, that is the absolute truth. I share that sentiment. I'm sure I am not the only one. We're seeing it in the chat. Germ, how is it going to feel? How's it going to feel walking into Viejas on Saturday? What's going to be going through your mind?
It's crazy because since I left, I've envisioned what it would feel like so many times. I've envisioned myself being angry. I've envisioned myself being nervous, but now that it's coming up, I feel like I've grown in ways I didn't really imagine back then, So I think I feel comfortable, man. I think I feel like myself, and I think it's a good chance for me to connect with not only the people that I did spend time with, but the people I don't, that probably don't know me, I haven't seen me, or have just heard about me. So I think it'll feel good, man. I think it'll feel good. I feel comfortable walking in there because I feel like myself, and I think at the time when I left state, I didn't really feel like myself. So maybe the people that did know me around that time, they get a chance to see a version that they didn't get to see at the time, So that's an exciting thought to think about.
You're part of the legacy, of Aztec basketball. Tradition never graduates. I mean, and I got a question for you. So if the show were to ask you, would you lead the "I Believe" chant before the game?
Of course, man. Of course, man.
Okay, we got to make that happen.
Of course I would, man.
Oh my goodness.
Of course I would.
Oh.
How could I not, man? That's what got me to state. Once I saw that, I was like, I'm going there.
Wow.
What game was your recruiting visit when you came to state? Was it that New Mexico game, the 1-3-1 game?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
dude,
yes.
I'll tell you what, man. That I've been to. I still have my season tickets. I fly down for some games. That might be the craziest game I've ever seen at home, and that the energy was just unbelievable. Like that was.
You got to think. I was at an all boys high school, and yeah, the games would be packed. But this was my first San Diego State game that I ever saw. And I was still deciding between if I wanted to go to San Diego State or if I wanted to go to Washington. Those are my last two. I'm like, it's gonna be one of those two. Man, I went to that game. First off, I wasn't even tripping about them being down. I was seeing the crowd. I'm mind blown. I'm in the crowd, not even talking to my dad. I'm just like, I'm blown. But then they came back. I'm like, I think it was Dwayne Polee at the top.
Yeah.
I was just like, I just remember telling my parents, I was like, man, I know that's where I was supposed to be. So yeah, that game. Oh, yeah, man.
Oh, that was a wild game, man. I'm glad you came to that one. We hooked you away from
I
Washington.
swear
Man.
to you, man, that blew my mind. I was like, whoa. The crowd was up the whole game. I was like, wow. And that's what I would dream of when I was younger and I had the dream of going to college. That was something that was always on my mind. I'm like, the crowd has to be packed. Like, I don't want to play in front of just some weak fans that's not really into the game. They just there to, so that was important to me. So once I saw it live, it felt like I had to be there.
Well, we talked with Dwayne and recounted his memories of that game, being out there at the top of that 1-3-1, and he takes credit for telling the coaches we need to run the 1-3-1 zone. So hey, if he takes credit for that, he took credit for that. He said I told the coaches we might as well try it. So if he takes credit for that, we might have to give him that credit.
Paulie ain't do that, man. He lied to y'all.
What?
Paulie ain't do that, man.
You gotta set the record straight. What?
Yeah, I'm gonna talk to him about that when I see him, bro. Like, you ain't do that.
I was gonna give him that credit for securing Germ's commitment and scholarship down here.
No, it was a perfect game, man. It was all written. It was all written.
Oh man,
I'm grateful.
Well, Jerm, we thank you so much, man. Thank you for joining. We don't want to take up all your time. We're so happy you spent and was gracious with this time, man. We look forward to seeing you out there in the arena at Viejas, a place that you left your mark at for sure. You left your mark. Just look at the chat. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Seriously, man. I appreciate you guys taking the time out, man. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys on Saturday as well. If all three of you are going to be there.
Yeah, I'll definitely be there. I don't think, Mike, are you going to be there? You're still up in Reno, right?
No, I'm up in Reno, man. I've kind of had my allotment with games flying down with my wife and my little girl, so I won't be there. But I hopefully if you make it out to Vegas for the Mount One tournament, I'd love to meet you and hang out for a little bit, man.
Yeah, man, we could definitely do that. Keep in touch, man. Keep in touch. I'm Aztec4Life, man. Seriously.
We'll might have to bug you about maybe a little collaboration with the clothing lines, because I love what you do, man. I love what I'm seeing.
Easy call, man. Easy call. Ain't nothing.
Let's send out Germ right. Hopefully we can get you down there on the Viejas floor, and we'll be screaming out the chant with you. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir, man. I appreciate y'all. Thank you very much.
Yeah. All right, thank you for taking the time. We really appreciate it, man. It's very nice of you. So thank you.
It's all love here, Jeremy.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for coming on.
God bless y'all.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Have fun on Saturday.
Thanks, buddy.
All right. Okay.